Hello, everybody. Happy Monday to you. Happy December 1st, 2025. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. I am TJ Walker, joined in the other room, thankfully today, by one producer, Matt Childress. Probably a very happy producer, Matt Childress. Understandably so. An amped up producer, Matt Childress, as his Patriots play Monday Night Football tonight. Unfortunately, a very sick producer, Matt Childress, who I'm just going to shoot everybody straight. And he's sick and he doesn't want to participate in the show. He didn't say that. He does. I'm sure he probably would love nothing more than to gloat and have a fun show today. But he's not feeling well. And Stephen Peak, co-host extraordinaire to the stars, he is remote today. And I thought to myself, this is a pretty big radio day. Pretty big radio day. Kentucky, for the first time in over a decade, is in the middle of a football coaching search. There was a Governor's Cup on Saturday. That's ancient history. We're not even talking about that now. But there was a Governor's Cup on Saturday. And Mark Stoops is fired, folks. He's out. So if I was going to have to produce, do the YouTube stream, and connect remotely with a Stephen Peak on a pretty important radio show, I could do it, maybe. Not good, not well. So producer Matt said, I feel like dog bleep, but I'm heading in anyways to help produce the show. So caps off, round of applause, because the show would have been much different and not as good today if not for producer Matt not feeling well and coming in. So thank you, producer Matt. You don't have to talk, but I appreciate you your effort today. And I hope the Patriots match that effort tonight. Specifically, Mac Jones. I'm up 8 in my fantasy game. I've got Mac going tonight, but they've got Stevenson and Diggs. So I don't know. It's a little iffy there, but a big shout out to producer Matt. We do have Stephen Peak, who is remote, but he's connected. Peak, what's up, buddy? How are you? Stephen Peak, how are you? What's up?
He's in the call.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. Well, we'll get with Stephen Peak when he's good and ready to get with Stephen Peak. In the meantime, producer Matt, the YouTube page. I don't know, some happy Stoops, some sad Stoops. Include my top 5 list if you don't mind. And I don't know, anything else that you think is prevalent on a pretty historic day for Kentucky. Peak, should we try again? Can you hear now?
You got me now?
I got you. All right, there you are. What's up?
There we go. Sorry, I was talking the whole time to no one. Shout out producer Matt for stepping in here, stepping up. If he had what I had the Monday before the Louisville game, I still haven't been able to shake it. So that was like one of the first days of it. So I totally have a lot of respect for Matt for coming in on this important Kentucky roll call. Man, what a friggin' 48 hours this has been. I know everybody that I work with has been manning phones and text lines and just everybody running around, much like it was just a couple of years ago, TJ. Crazy. It's weird. I woke up today with like excitement about the future, but also a tinge of sadness. Not feeling bad for Mark Stoops, but just that was their favorite football team. And so it's just feels like it's going to be weird, that first press conference. And like I said back when Cal left and they brought in Mark Pope, and it's going to be so weird to look on that sideline and not see Mark Stoops. I think we all can look back on his time fondly, and there will, maybe not a statue, but there should be something at Kroger Field. But yeah, it's just been a wild couple days. I mean, the message boards have been crazy. We did a couple live shows on YouTube last night that were just it's insanity. And what this kind of shows too is like the interest in Kentucky football. A lot of people will say, especially in the national media, that Kentucky is just a basketball school. And I think you can just tell from how excited this fan base is. And that is sort of a testament to Mark Stoops. He sort of built this thing up. There's a lot of new fans, new Kentucky football fans, because of Mark Stoops. So we can go into that maybe a little bit later and go through all the great moments of the Mark Stoops era and what he has meant to this program. But TJ, it's just been a crazy few hours today even. There are rumors that Mitch has already been on the phone with Will Stein, that they're in contact with Brian Hartline. I mean, I'll take either one of those guys. TJ, what have you heard? I know that it's probably been a busy day for you too.
Nick Flanagan, Mr. Host. I wanted to thank you. Fired.
All right.
Pardon?
Producer Matt.
Today.
That is too loud. That is so loud. That's okay. I initially thought that you were playing a video, and that was just the advertisement for it. But no, it was a bit. It was a bit.
It was Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, that was good. I liked it. It was maybe it didn't come off as loud to the listeners. I hope it didn't. Keep them rolling though. Keep firing away. Today's been busy for all sorts of reasons, but yeah, last night phone was blowing up. People just texting, "What are you hearing? What are you hearing? What are you hearing?" I'm not hearing anything. I'm just trying to enjoy a nice Sunday, getting away from sports for one day. Didn't have the Packers playing, didn't have UK to ruin a day for me. So that was a big get down the Thanksgiving decorations, get up the Christmas tree, get up the Christmas decorations. And it took all day, but I was able to do it. And then towards the end of the day, it became more distracting having to check my phone. Oh, man. All right, I guess it's kind of happening. Oh, boy, it's going to happen. Well, now it's actually happened. So I went to bed knowing that, and I went to bed pretty early, around 10 or 10:30-ish. But, all right, there was James Schriebel all throughout Sunday. He had it, and he said that, hey, it's going to happen. Stoops is out. And he actually texted me, and he said, hey, I've got a pretty trusted source on this, and I think it's official. I think he's going to be gone. And I said, oh, well, run with it. If that's how you feel, or if you trust your guy, then run with it. And he did. And to his credit, he was the first person that I saw. But then you have the Jeff Drummond report later in the evening as well, and I know plenty of people at On3 all had different sources. So I went to bed knowing that, okay, it was happening, but as a UK sports fan, expect the unexpected. So when I woke up, I was like, what's going to happen? Barnhart released a statement having a change of heart, or who knows what was going to happen. And when I woke up, it was just more of the same. It's going to be announced on Monday. It's going to be announced on Monday. Statement coming in the early morning, early afternoon on Monday. And sure enough, all those things came to fruition. So I took it kind of easy. I was away from my phone and from the news as much as you could be yesterday, but obviously I still had an eye on it. And then woke up today and felt a little conflicted. And I know, Peak, that you already alluded to it, all the great things that Mark Stoops has done. Roush and I, for many years, would joke about the Colossus of Stoops, build the statue, build the statue. UK's winningest all-time football coach. There's no doubt, no denying that he has provided so many great UK football memories. He's brought in so many great players that represented the program in an amazing way and provided a lot of awesome moments in the blue and white. You can't take those things away from Mark Stoops, and we won't. But I woke up conflicted, a bit just sad that, hey, this guy that I was begging to be fired actually was fired. Did I have any role in it? No, absolutely not. Losing 41-0 to your biggest rival and in a 2-year span, 82-17, that's probably more of what did it, not some goofball on the radio calling for him to be fired. But it was all right, I wanted him gone. I wanted a change. All right, here's what you wanted. You finally got it. You better be all right with that. And then it sank in with me where I'm absolutely okay with it. there was no path forward with Mark Stoops after Saturday. If he won Saturday, I wasn't excited about the future with Mark Stoops, but I at least understood that you had to go down that road. I was worried that we were going to have to go down a road that didn't even exist after the blowout loss to U of L. I was worried that Barnhart was going to say, hey, I get it. There's no momentum. There's no optimism, but we're just not paying the buyout. So we got to figure it out one way or another. Hopefully people will buy in, but he's going to be back. I really did not expect Mitch Barnhart to do what needed to be done, the only thing that could be done, and if he was at all remotely serious about UK football, the only decision that could be made. I was genuinely scared, worried, concerned that he was not going to make that choice. So I'm happy that he did. And then we don't have to have a season without hope. We don't have to have another season going in wondering how the offense was going to be ruined in some capacity. You're going to have a new coach that's going to bring in new players and new assistants and new staff members, and we're going to have a reason to be excited. There's going to be some big names. There's going to be probably 5 to 10 times more money into the program that wouldn't have been there if Mark Stoops was announced back. And I was so worried that it wasn't going to happen. So I'm not – how Mark Stoops finishes this settlement, and maybe it's already signed and it's already officially official, that news will come out when the news comes out. Peak, that's how I'm going to remember him. Not so much just strictly the settlement or how he negotiates this buyout, but it's going to play a lump in it. There have been good Mark Stoops moments. There have been some really bad and some really embarrassing ones. Is he going to not bend at all and say, unlike his defense on Saturday, which did some bending and some breaking, is he just going to say, you all are going to pay me what you owe me, and that's that? Is he going to say, you all are going to pay me what you owe me, but I'll let you do it over the course of X amount of time or whatever it may be? Will he say, you know what, you all can pay me over an X amount of time period. It doesn't have to be the 60 days. And I'll because things went so south, I'll knock off $10 million. I'll knock off $8 million. How? And I'm not going to be dumb about this. I'm not naive. I'm not asking him to not take any money at all. And I don't care. He's entitled to UK having to pay him $37 million in 60 days if that's what he decides to do. But I'm going to remember you based on what decision you make right now. Oh, he did so much good for the university. All right, well, how's he going to leave the university, right? That's what we talk about with coaching, Stephen Peak. Did you leave a place better than you find it? Well, that is subjective right now with Mark Stoops. If he left Kentucky football better than he found it, he left it in the dumpster. It's probably, as an establishment, a little bit better off, but it's not in a good spot. And whatever coach is taking over next year, it's going to be more of a rebuild than what Stoops came into. Different era, obviously, and that's carrying some heavy lifting. So if he comes out, and I'll be realistic about it too. I'm not asking, if you don't cut the buyout in half, you're dead to me, Mark Stoops. No, that's not it at all. But if he is going to be a little stinker about it, which I'm sorry, Mark Stoops has some stinker capabilities to him, but if he comes out and he says, the contract says this, and the contract says that, and you owe me this, and I want it by this day, all right, he's legally probably entitled to that. I'm no lawyer, but it seems legally he'd have a right to that. Then I'm going to remember you as the dude that had it all, squandered it away, wasn't motivated, and you just your legacy is tarnished, and you're just another UK football coach to me. I'll go to that point if he's going to be a stinker about this contract. And yeah, how are you blaming him? He just signed what everybody else would do. Yeah, and he's going to be rich for the rest of his 40 years, 30 years, however much time he has on this earth. And I hope it's many as God allows. I hope as much time Mark Stoops has. Money ain't going to be an issue for him. It is for the future of UK football. It is an issue for the future of UK football. Well, why would I care about the future of UK football? You all just fired me. All right, then why would we care about you then? Then why would I care about you? So how this gets handled is going to play a large role in how I remember Mark Stoops. If he helps us out, I'll remember the good moments probably a little bit more. If he does not help out Kentucky football in the future of the football program, I'll probably remember these last couple years a little bit more. So we ain't done with Mark Stoops just yet. I'm happy with the direction the program's going. Tip of the cap to you, Mitch Barnhart. It's so ironic to me, Stephen Peak. This is what UK football fans have wanted. We wanted Stoops out. We wanted a change. Oh, no, the UK football irony is the guy that we wanted, the hotshot alum, he takes the job literally a day before. Ain't that cruel? That's Shakespearean to a point, Stephen Peak. All right, anything I said that you want to touch on?
Yeah, well, my boss, Matt Jones, says that the two most important days at a job are your first day and your last day. And I do think that the way Mark Stoops is going to allow them to pay this out does make it a little bit easier. Actually, I think it makes it a lot easier to then look back and appreciate everything that he's done. Because, the way that it felt like in that press conference on Saturday that he was going to make him pay up. He was going to make Kentucky pony up $38 million, do within 60 days, or else he was going to be the coach. When you go on a run like he had from, let's just say, 2018 through the 2021 season, and if it wasn't for losing your quarterback in 2019 and for COVID in 2020, he would probably had a run of 8 wins or more. Well, I guess from 2016, if you count the bowl games, 2016 through 2021. And then the way that it sort of started to decline and the way that it is now, I don't think he wanted to go out that way. But I don't know. I don't know how interested he was in coming back. Just because we all knew. I mean, I left that stadium asking Adam Luckett and Nick Roush on our walk to the car, how do I get excited for next year? Well, tell me something, because I don't think that he's leaving. I just didn't believe it. The whole issue was the money. How are they going to, they cannot pay this out in 60 days. So he's going to be the coach. And I do appreciate that he has at least given Kentucky, given that athletic department, a way to finance this and to pay it out over multiple years to make it more doable. Made 2 of the worst contracts in Kentucky athletics history, and he's gotten bailed out of both of them by the coaches, one leaving and then one negotiating how the payout will work. But at least, Mark Stoops is getting the money. He is going to take $38 million from the athletic department. We're just getting lucky that it's not all due within a couple of months. So yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, TJ. Just rumors could. How? Let me ask you this: how much are you okay with me reporting on rumors right now?
Oh, I don't. This is Rumors Radio, baby.
This isn't like dragging hell to these facts,
Let's
right?
go. Yeah, no, I'm all for it. I don't think people come here for like the inside.
What do they call it? Scuttlebutt?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it on All right, well, here's some scuttlebutt. I just got a message from somebody close to Will Stein's family that said he accepted the job about 30 minutes ago. Now, as everybody knows with these coaching searches, stuff just gets said sometimes, and then you get it from a pretty decent source, somebody close to what's happening, and they're just hearing it from other places too, so you don't really know. But that was sent to me by somebody that I trust. So we'll see. I think that I will be so excited if it's Will Stein.
How much do let's not bury the lead here. How much do you trust this family friend?
And here's the thing. I'm not at all saying that this is definitely the case because like I said, you've been around coaching searches before, TJ. We all watched a freaking door in 2009 for like half of the day, thinking that John Calipari was going to walk out, and there were so many rumors swirling around that time. And I remember in 2007, there was a report. I don't know.
Oh boy.
Which I thought it was. Daryl Bird, very prominent UK reporter. This is in 2007, and he says Billy Donovan has basically accepted the job at Kentucky. And I apologize to Daryl if that's not who it was, but I thought that's who it was. and so like this stuff just sort of gets out there. And so it's until I see something like official, like I mean, or I hear from Will Stein's family like directly, then I will I will be a little cautious about saying that this is fact. But that's just how this stuff goes. We're probably going to hear 30 more rumors similar to that before this stuff is set in stone. But they said like he accepted it about a half hour ago, and they're going to announce it at the basketball game. I mean, I would definitely take Will Stein, 100%. 35-year-old up-and-coming coach, offensive coordinator for one of the best offenses in the country at Oregon. Runs basically a spread offense. I think that's a hire people can get excited about. He also was recruiting Matt Ponatowski, and I think if you want to keep Matt Ponatowski as one of the biggest recruits Kentucky's had, then you might want to bring in Will Stein. There was also Nick Roush was reporting earlier today on KS Board that Brian Hartline would 1,000% take the job if he was offered it. So, I mean, Kentucky is in a really good spot. I think that people are going to be pretty upset that you missed out on John Sumrall, because for the last 3 years or so, it had basically been we just wait until Sumrall's ready and then we go get him, and it just, what timing, TJ? Isn't that crazy? Like we I know the contract and everything played a role, but last year you finished 4-8. It was kind of 3 years in a row of disappointing seasons, even though you go 7-6. Oh geez, I just got a message from somebody too. Man, this is just crazy stuff. Like I said, I've been on the internet for the last. I felt like I got a little bit of sleep last night, but for the most part, just been online, just checking in on this stuff. Just got a message from Dylan Ballard, another UK media guy. And he thinks it's going to be Will Stein also, I guess. So
I'll say it. All right.
What would you think about? How would you feel about Will Stein being the football coach of the Kentucky Wildcats?
I'd be excited about it, and I would pump the brakes a bit on Peak's scuttlebutt. The fact that Will Stein is getting involved in a UK football coaching search in the year of 2025, it just again points to all signs to a simulation. If you're doing radio in this town, in Louisville, and Will Stein, who family is big UK, he was a UK fan, U of L offers him, Trinity guy, they offer him a spot to be on the roster and basically to get into coaching. This is going to be, hey, come on, you're not going to be an NFL quarterback, but come help us out. Maybe you'll play a little bit, maybe you won't, but if you want to be a coach, this will be helpful for that regard. He gets in there, ends up actually playing more than people probably would have thought, ends up handing the keys over to Teddy Bridgewater, no less, and then he does get into coaching, but it's kind of a slow rise to coaching. He goes and he does high school football for a long time, Lake Travis high school football, and then he's at UTSA, and then he's at Oregon. And then the fact that there are U of L fans that would be very upset if Will Stein is the coach at UK. There are close personal friends and family members to Will Stein that would be upset if they have to see him be the coach at UK. They may even have to cheer for UK. That's an interesting dynamic to all of this as well.
His dad played at UK.
Yeah, there are family ties they're a big UK family. But the interesting part, Peak, is you're going to have so many people that have sources. You're going to have so many people that know this or know that or talk to somebody that said this or somebody that said that. And honestly, it's crossed my mind that if this dude ends up being the coach at the University of Kentucky, there's going to be a lot of leaks, or will there be a lot of leaks? There's going to be a lot of people that, all right, if things aren't going well, they're going to say, well, he's mad about this, or he blames this, or he supposedly this happened or that happened. I actually do wonder if he's maybe a little too close to the program in that regard. Because if there's one thing about the Catholic scene in Louisville is it does some gossiping, especially from a sports standpoint. And I'm saying this a little facetiously. However, you're going to get a lot of people like Peak that are going to say, hey, I talked to a family friend. I talked to somebody that played high school football with him. I talked to somebody that knows him. I've got a Will Stein story. He kissed Jennifer Lawrence in my house. It doesn't get more Louisville than that with Will Stein. Factually true. It's hilarious. But it doesn't mean I'm going to have an inside source or an inside scoop on this sort of stuff, or maybe I will. And maybe I do hear something, and maybe it turns out to be 100% true, and maybe what Stephen Peak is saying is true. I'll say this. I do think I think if he had signed or agreed or even had met with Mitch Barnhart in person in the last 24 hours, 12 hours even, I think that would get out a little bit more than, no offense, Peak, than just you just now. But there could be some truth to it. Hey, maybe they've talked on the phone. He's coming in. He's on his way in. They said that he liked him. I do expect Mitch Barnhart to move quickly on this. That would be a little too quick. And I've got takes on what a Will Stein coaching candidacy at Kentucky would look like, what the Will Stein era would look like. I've got takes on that. I tweeted out my top 5. If you're on the YouTube stream, you can see my top 5 choices, and I would love all 5 of them, but we may even need to cross one off the list right now. Some breaking news. So, Peak, let's take our first commercial break. We'd love to hear from you on the Game Day Men's Health text line, 502-414-1450. We're going to be out at Game Day Men's Health tomorrow. Live show, fun show, maybe some breaking coaching news while we're on the air. Who really knows? But we'd love it if you came out and said hello to us. So we'll update a lot happening on today's Kentucky Roll Call, but we'll update our top 5 reasons for and against those candidates. More Will Stein chatter. Mark Stoops out as the head coach at the University of Kentucky, and Kentucky Roll Call. We'll talk about it. Interesting day. Don't go anywhere.
with his legs. Look at that move.
Gosh.
And he leapfrogs the defender.
Okie dokie.
Down to the 14. And that lights up the Kentucky bench.
Welcome back, Kentucky Roll Call. Cyber Monday, 502-414-1450. And Salsarita is always doing great deals when you download that app. Download it right now. 3 locations in the Louisville area, Middletown, St. Matthews, and out in Bullitt County off I-65. Salsaritas, it's delicious. Keep them in mind for this holiday season. Maybe you're hosting an ugly sweater party, a company Christmas party, whatever it may be. Salsaritas Catering will take care of you. 502-414-1450 is the Game Day Men's Health text line. Stephen Peak remotely. Producer Matt Childress. I'm TJ Walker here in Louisville. Mark Stoops out. Fired at the University of UK. Cats are going to owe him a lot of money. Exactly how much remains to be seen, but Stephen Peak saying it's going to be the full amount. It's just he's going to be a bit generous on the timeline, may not make it a 60-day payment, which would be nice of Mark Stoops. I'm hoping that he cuts some of the money off the top. I have no reason to think that he will. No inside source. Just hope that he wants to be a good guy and save UK some money. But the early reports seem to indicate he will not do that, but he will play some ball potentially with a timeline. We're on the YouTube. If you want to watch us there, I just accidentally knocked the microphone to my mouth and nearly swallowed it. And this is a gross microphone because John Spears spits into this thing all day. Mike Rutherford spits into this thing all day. Michael Bennett does. It's not the microphone you'd want to get to the inside of your lips, but unfortunately that's where we're at with what just happened. You can catch that again on the YouTube stream. I tweeted out a top 5 for who I like. I'd be really happy with any of these choices. That being said, I hope UK's not just going off a radio host top 5 and they're doing consulting and having people smarter than me weigh in on this stuff, and I'm sure that they are. Wow. On 3 is reporting the Stephen Peak bomb. Now, of course, Kentucky Roll Call listeners, you got it here first, but Peak, that you feel good enough about that source that On 3's rolling with it.
Well, that's news to me. No, I mean, I talked with the person who sent that message. I mean, they seem pretty confident about it. And like I said, these rumors are just gonna. That's what's gonna happen.
And for what it's worth, it's been backed up a little bit, right? We got a group text message there with some indication that what you're rolling with would seem to back it up.
It is not just. There's been several people who were kind of reporting this at the same time as what I got, and that's what if I've got it, several people have got it. You know what I mean? So, but we'll just see. And there could be an agreement and stuff just not completely line up and it fall through. Doesn't mean that this is set in stone by any means. I mean, you know how fluid these things can be.
Get out the chisel, everybody. William Stein.
But I would be love. A lot of people watch that YouTube video when he was at UTSA. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. He just goes through his whole offensive philosophy. It's actually it helped me like understand the game a little bit better. He's a really good teacher of the game. Will was the quarterback at Trinity. I think it was only his senior year he was a starter. Led Trinity to a state championship in thrilling fashion over the St. Xavier Tigers in overtime through the game tying touchdown pass, I believe. But Will played. I played AAU baseball with Will. He's a great guy, a great leader. We always respected him as a competitor. And I'd be real excited if it's Will. I saw that Mike Rutherford had a tweet last night that basically said, "Oh man, they're gonna hire Will Stein, and it's going to break my heart." So anytime you get a hire that your rival doesn't like, whether it's because they think he's going to be good or even for personal reasons, I think that's the way you should go.
All right, I think Stein would be there. There'd be no reason to think that he couldn't be very successful. He's smart. He's super competitive. He's not gonna. Not going to come here just to collect a paycheck and lose. He's going to try to win and try to win at the biggest level. So if that's the direction they go, I'm down for it. He's got connections to the state. It'd be good to have some Trinity connections. Obviously, Brahm's going to probably have the upper hand there, but it won't hurt to at least have a promising voice. So I could totally get on board with Will Stein. Everywhere he's gone, they've won. The offenses look good. UTSA was in the top 25 when he was the offensive coordinator there. He was fun, and he quickly went from passing game coordinator, wide receivers coach, and then offensive coordinator. And success just follows this guy, and good offenses follow this guy. So if it happens at UK, he'll have success. I don't doubt it. He's young. I think he'd be the type of guy that'd be able to get money in the program as well. That's almost as important as a coach, right? Is who can fundraise, who's going to be the face of the program to help get the richest of the richest to open up those pocketbooks. And they call him Golden Boy Will Stein for a reason. He's got a good smile. So there's a lot to like there. I don't know if I'd necessarily say he's my first choice, although on my list he is ranked first, but it's not totally in a preference ranking or priority ranking. But maybe he is. I guess I haven't totally said here's my number one choice. But
who was your number one choice?
I don't know if I've come to grips with the number one choice just yet. But I don't know. That's not to say it's not Will Stein. I just don't know if I have a number one choice as of today. But my top 5 that I tweeted out, and it's on the YouTube stream, was Will Stein, Brian Hartline, who's the OC at the Ohio State University. They're just going to waltz to their second national championship back-to-back, all willy-billy. Number 3, and this was the breaking news during the commercial break, Bob Chesney, the James Madison head coach. He has reportedly taken the UCLA job. People forget the UCLA job was open. They fired their coach in like September. It was forever ago. And people forget they never filled the position. Supposedly they just had with Bob Chesney, the JMU head coach. I would have actually really liked Chesney at Kentucky. Not because you're just trying to recreate the Kirk Cignetti magic that you found at IU. Hey, let's go hire the JMU coach, right? It's all going to work out. But Peak, there is and my next candidate fits this category. He checks this box as well. But there is a part of me that wants to hire a head coach somewhere. And that doesn't mean Dan Mullen. That doesn't mean, I know he's currently not a head coach, but Chip Kelly. It doesn't mean some retread, old, tired head coach. That's not what I'm getting at. But I think if you can get a promising young head coach, Peak, when do you want to win? Do you want to win in 5 years? Do you want to win in 3 years? Or do you want to win next year? And the answer should be next year. Now, if it's not next year with a new coach, we can be a bit more patient, right? But part of the reason...
Yeah, because he's going to have to bring in a lot of guys.
Yeah, and a new head coach is going to bring in a lot of their former players, assuming it's from a lower-tier school, and maybe even if it's from a higher-tier school, although I don't think UK's got to worry about that. But Bob Chesney, now going to UCLA, that's maybe a harder sell, bringing everybody across the country. But if he were to go to Lexington, let's just say in the last 20 minutes he didn't take the UCLA job, but if he was going from James Madison to UK, the Cats would probably at least be decent next year, just based on the players that he would take from his own school. And, yeah, you'd have to hit the portal hard, and you'd have to go get some players, and you'd want to retain some players. But if you mix all that together, I would think with a good attitude and a hungry and a fired-up coach, you're probably looking at like a 6-win season as your basement. And then as teams quit on a season, as seasons go, who knows? Maybe you get 7. Maybe you get 8 is not impossible. And I'm not expecting a first-year head coach to come in here and make the college football playoff. And the schedule next year does look really hard. And you're going to be playing some head coaches with new schools and new teams that are going to be doing the exact same thing that you're doing. So you're probably not going to get the benefit of teams that have totally waved the white flag like Mark Stoops had this past season. But part of a benefit of hiring a coach that's a head coach and has an established program is he's probably going to bring a lot of dudes with him. Now, I know you can make the case, well, Will Stein and Brian Hartline, They're offensive coordinators. I'm sure they have some players that would want to go be stars for them and starters for them. Maybe, but then they still have to hear from the head coach at Oregon and the head coach from Ohio State. And those guys may carry a bit more sway than the newly hired head coach at the University of Kentucky, if we're just calling a spade a spade. But at these smaller schools, it's easier to be better, I think, day one if you hired an established coach. So fourth on my list, and this one is easily the one that I received most scrutiny on social media for, but P.J. Fleck from Minnesota. And hear me out a little bit. But I think the Minnesota and UK football jobs are somewhat similar. And Fleck and the Big Ten and the SEC are somewhat similar. Fleck has been to a bowl game, I think, the last 5 years. I think he had 10 wins at Minnesota in 2019, so not too long ago or whatever year it was. They've been to a bowl game almost every year that he's been there. He's been consistent, right around 7 or 8 wins, more years than not. And I get it. Hey, you just want to bring somebody who won 7 or 8 games at Minnesota to come at UK? I think 7 or 8 wins at Minnesota is it's hard to win at Minnesota. It's very hard to win at Minnesota. It's winter in September, and you're trying to recruit players to it, and you have no money. There's no money in NIL. Their hockey program gets as much money as they do. So Fleck, I get it. He's not the most inspiring coach with what he's done over the last few years. But imagine an established coach that knows how to win, who knows how to take on the big boys, who knows how NIL works at a major school in a major conference. Give him more money and a shot in the arm. He's hungry again to win in the SEC. I think more people need to be open to P.J. Fleck if he was open to Kentucky. I get it. He may not be your number one, but he would bring a lot of players, and he's shown that he will be good. Oh, maybe he's not going to be the greatest of the greatest. Well, he's going to be pretty good, and I think he'd get money in the program. So I like P.J. Fleck. And then fifth, I haven't seen any other UK list have this fella on their list, so I think I'm the first, but more need to do it. Charlie Weis Jr., who already left Ole Miss to go with Lane Kiffin. What a wild situation that is, and we'll probably talk about that in an hour or two. But he left Ole Miss to go be the OC at LSU with Lane Kiffin. Why not see? You already left one job. You can't be all that comfortable in Baton Rouge. Why not see if he's ready to go be at UK? This guy has been doing football his entire life. He comes from a football family. Obviously, his dad, Charlie Weis, is a very, very established coach, coached at Notre Dame, among many other places. May not hurt to just get that guy in the program from a football mind. And Charlie Weis Jr., I think, would know how to fundraise. He's from the Lane Kiffin coaching tree. I think look at Lane Kiffin's offenses. Look how good they've been. Look how fun they've been. You get that guy in here, I think more people need to be talking about Charlie Weis Jr. So there's my top 5, Stephen Peak. Again, I would have loved Bob Chesney. I think he's going to do really well at UCLA. If UCLA will give him the resources to do such, I don't know. But I still also look back to, gosh darn you. I'm going to give you a gosh darn it, Mitch Barnhart. But gosh darn it, dude, if you just would have fired Stoops a month ago, if you just would have got this in motion, maybe we really could have gotten Summerall. And I had Ben Jones, who I used to work with, and he used to cover Alabama and cover a bunch of other sports and other teams and whatnot. Now I think he's doing military work, which is exciting. But he tweeted me, and he was like, just so you know, it's no guarantee that Summerall would have taken the UK job over Florida. Folks, I'm aware of that. Maybe there's a chance, and it would have been kind of embarrassing, right? This guy that we wanted so badly and we've been looking for, and he's the alum, and he knows what UK football is all about, and he looks us dead in the eye, and he says, hey, no, this other job's better. I'm going to beat your ass on Saturdays. Thanks for the offer. See you later. That's certainly a possibility. I'm not saying that it's not. But gosh darn you, Mitch Barnhart, for not giving us that chance to find out. We should have had the opportunity to make a full-on pitch to John Summerall and say, you would be the king of Kentucky. This is your spot. Come back home, and whatever you want, you're going to get. We should have had that chance. And, Mitch, you were literally a day late, you goober. So I'm disappointed with Mitch Barnhart, too, in this whole thing. I could probably go 2 hours ranting about him, but not enough time today. All right, Peak, you can take over. There's my top 5. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I liked all of those. I mean, you know, like I was saying earlier in the first segment, you know, it's weird that you had this all set up for Summerall to be your guy, and then you don't get rid of Stoops until like hours after Summerall accepted the Florida job. But I like all those other candidates. I like, you know, I kind of agreed with what Matt and Drew and Nick and Adam were saying last night on our YouTube stream, that it's basically tier one, Will Stein, Brian Hartline, and then from there you go down the list. And Bob Chesney, obviously, with Bob Chesney would be one of the guys you would look at, and then from there you go down to Troy's head coach. That kind of would have been the Mark Pope kind of hire. You know, you bring a former Kentucky player back again with Parker, but I will say this, like, I can get excited about bringing in an offensive mind, bringing in a young coach. Rick Pitino was 37 years old when he took over the University of Kentucky basketball program, like the greatest program, the blue blood program, the bluest of blue, as Cal would say. Rick Pitino was 37. So thinking that, you know, people concerned, oh, Stein's 35, will he be? Now the one thing you can say, and this is the difference between Kentucky basketball and Kentucky football, well, Rick Pitino was the head coach at the New York Knicks. So, you know, but you know what's interesting, TJ, is looking at the ages of some of these coaches that were being hired in the 90s, and they were all young guys. Like, they were all young. It wasn't that weird to hire somebody 31 years old, 32 years old. Now it feels like, oh, we can't do that. They can't handle it. They're too young. And I think that, you know, a lot of these coaches have just been in this business for forever. And it does feel like there might be time, especially with all the changes throughout college football. I am ready to have somebody a little bit younger come in and somebody who can maybe more easily adjust to all of these changes in the college game. So
all right, we're gonna do a little exercise here, okay?
Yeah.
You're gonna pick between Brian Hartline and Will Stein, and I'm gonna argue the other one feverishly, okay?
Okay.
All right. Between the two, though, I want you to answer genuinely. Who would you pick between the two?
Well, I'd go with Will Stein. I think that I love. Let me look up real fast. I had this up earlier, but the Oregon offense being in the top 10, he's working for the guy who was originally defensive coordinator. I don't know how. I mean, I'm sure Brian Hartline has his hands all over the offense, but Ryan Day does too. And so I like the fact that Will Stein, for one, he's running the show. He's running the offense completely. It's in his hands at Oregon. He's one of the hotter names in college football. He has ties here. He could be a long-term option. Not that Brian Hartline would not be, but I think if now here's the thing. Like, if Brian Hartline has success and that's what leads him to a bigger job, well then, you know, that's also great, right? But I think Will Stein can have success and then also stay here while having success, because he's from and obviously I think he wanted to go to Kentucky, but there just wasn't. He didn't get offered, so he had to go to Louisville and throw a touchdown pass against Kentucky in a game Louisville won. I think having Will Stein already in Matt Ponatowski's radar and making sure you land that guy. You know, not that Brian Hartline couldn't reel him in, being a guy from Ohio, but Will Stein, I mean, I think Ponatowski in his quote yesterday basically mentioned that Will Stein was recruiting him pretty hard. Love the offense. Love that you've got what's Brian Hartline? What is he, 41?
He's 39.
Something like that. He's 39. So either one. And that's the thing. We're kind of splitting hairs. Like, if they went with Brian Hartline, you won't hear me going, well, damn it, Why did you do that? You should have gone Will
we're
Stein. And if you
just
go
doing
with
it-
Will Stein, you won't hear me saying that we should have gone Brian Hartline. Like either one. That's what I was saying in the first segment. Kentucky's in a great position because you got two high level, what I believe will be high level coaches that want to be here. And I think if you go get either of them a GM and let them coach the team, and they're obviously going to have their hands on roster construction and on recruiting, but if you can get them a GM, let them coach, I think that Kentucky football can be set up for success.
I agree with you, and hopefully with either one of the guys, you're getting on a little bit of a discount. You're going to pay them top 20 money, top 25 money, but hopefully you're not paying them as much as you were paying Stoops, although the buyout, we'll worry about that another. Not our money, right, fans and listeners? Not our money. They can cross that bridge when they come to it. But let me argue both of them then, all right? Because you made a case for both of them. I'd be fine with both of them. Both of them could work. You're right. The money could free up GM positions and good OCs and DCs to join them, and that's going to be very, 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 very important. The staffs, either one of really between the two of them, which one's going to put together a better staff? Who's got the better inside track? That's the one that I would probably want, if we're going to be honest. Brian Hartline, though, he has been around nothing but Ohio State football. And while that's a good thing and that's a benefit, that could also be a negative because Kentucky football is not Ohio State football. We'll pick up this conversation in an hour or two, but I'll make some cases against both those guys. But there's a lot of momentum for Will Stein in Kentucky all over social media, and its roots go right back to Stephen Peak of Kentucky Roll Call. We're back, hour number 2, next on the Big X.
South Korea, Maryland, Monroe.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Kentucky Roll Call here on Big X Sports Radio, 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Oh, yeah, things are moving hot and heavy, fast and furious with UK's coaching search, which I don't know. I know you need to move quickly in college football, and there is no time to waste, really, in college anything with the nil era, transfer portal, having to do roster retention. I know the portal doesn't technically open up, but it's always moving and grooving. You got to have people behind the scenes that are trying to keep the pieces together. So I get moving quickly, but I don't know. All this still seems a little too quick. Kentucky literally just made the announcement, and that's not to say that they couldn't be working behind the scenes. They should have been working behind the scenes, and I imagine that they were and are. But to have somebody already signed on the dotted line and ready to rock and roll, I am not questioning Peak's report, my own co-host report. I hope it's accurate. Will Stein being the head coach at UK would be incredibly exciting. And first and foremost, just congrats to him and his family, some of which could very well be listening to the show today. That he was, he always, he hasn't lived in the state in many years. Peak, I don't think you've probably talked to him recently. I haven't talked to him recently. He was a good dude. At least my experience, my many experiences with him, a good dude. So I'm just happy that he's being talked about for an SEC head coaching job. That is incredible.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's almost surreal to a certain extent. So whether or not he's the next head coach is or isn't, hats off to him. That's incredible. He's a good dude. He deserves all this success, and I hope that he is the head coach. But Peak, this is moving so quickly. It seems like that if all this is true, and you've got Pete Nakos, and it's not just you that's going out there and saying all this, that would be incredibly fast.
Yeah, but we kind of knew it was gonna have to be. I mean, you have National Signing Day on Wednesday, right? And I don't know what that's gonna look like when you have a new coach, and I assume some players are gonna transfer out. And I don't know who all will or whoever it is can bring with them. So it's going to be things are just going to be moving super fast. I mean, you got to go sign a whole team. It's just it's crazy in this era of college football, like what you're going to have to do to. I'm sure they'll retain some guys, and I wonder how much Cutter Boley had a say in this. I mean, Will Stein, obviously a quarterback. And a quarterback's coach, how much of a role does Hartline? That's Mike being obviously a quarterback himself at Kentucky. So I think this is just how it had to be. It had to move this fast. I mean, you look at it was just a crazy Sunday. How many was it? Four SEC coaches? How many was it?
Arkansas, Florida, LSU. Now you throw Ole Miss in the mix. Yeah. Auburn, did I mention them?
I mean, the SEC Media Days is going to look real different. And of course, you mentioned it a little bit, that LSU and Ole Miss and the Lane Kiffin saga has been so fascinating to me. They play each other next year. That's going to be like their Calipari, Arkansas coming into Rupp. That's going to be crazy. So all this stuff is moving super fast. So I don't think it was really rushed. You're kind of going in and out on my stream as well. But I think I heard you say that for it to move this fast, there may have been some talk behind the scenes. There probably was. Especially when things got really bad. I would imagine that there were feelers put out probably back before the Auburn win. But I do think, after they beat Auburn, I said on the show, there are their assistant coaches coming off the field saying, I get to keep my job. And then they beat Florida, and I think after that, it was just assumed that Stoops and his staff, most of his staff, would be back. But prior to that, especially after the Tennessee loss, I think that there had to have been some contact made with Will Stein, with Hartline, probably with John Sumrall as well, and get a feel for that. That does stink that we're going to have to go up against John Sumrall now. But look, I think like I obviously would have been excited for. I'm excited to. I don't think we need to like bring the air raid and stuff back, but I'm going to be excited that to put up points, TJ, because that's what I've been asking for with Kentucky football. We're not asking to go undefeated. I'd like to have 7 to 8 wins and it be exciting and fun. And then every once in a while you punch above your weight and you get to 10-2 or 9-3, and 9-3 is good enough to make the playoffs that year, so you get into a playoff spot. Maybe you host a playoff game at some point. That's the goal for whoever the coach is, to give Kentucky a shot at the playoffs once every few years. When you said earlier, what is the goal? Do you want to win next year? Do you want to win in 3 years? We'd like to see some improvement next season, but what do you think is what's the level? What's kind of success? What's success look like for the new coach in 2026, regardless of who it is?
I think there are 3 tiers to being a UK football fan that I think you need to check these boxes, or these tiers, or the 3 things you need to, I guess the boxes is a better word for it than tiers. But the 3 boxes that I'm looking for as a Kentucky football fan, that the next coach needs to make a priority. And Stoops at different times would check on one of these boxes, sometimes 2, and in 2018 and 2021, maybe all 3 of them. You need to be exciting in the offseason. You need to win an offseason. That was one thing John Calipari was always amazing at, where you just felt good about things going into a season. So I don't care, if things don't work out, if there's injuries, if things go south, we're going to talk about that, and we won't probably be happy about it, but we can figure it out. We're smart enough. But we want to go into a season with a little bit of hope. We want to go into a spring game wanting to actually see people and be like, hey, I'm kind of excited about this guy. Hey, what's the report on this guy? We want to go into a fall camp caring about the players that we're reading about and listening about and talking about. And for for at least this past year for Stoops, there was none of that. Going into 24, there was. Hey, this is kind of the year. Let's go. This is it. Obviously, it didn't amount to anything. And then you didn't have any hope in last season, in the offseason. So whoever the new coach is, let us feel optimistic. If it turns out to not be true, we'll deal with that when it happens. But we need to go into seasons being excited. You got to be able to sell tickets, okay? So that's number 1. Number 2, and I'll say, I don't know, in a chronological order, this should be number 3, but I'm going to say it second because I think it's the second biggest priority. You need to beat rivals, and we can even be loosey-goosey and gray area on who the rivals are, but you got to beat Louisville. You certainly can't be outscored 82-17 in a 2-year span. And
yeah,
Stoops,
that's not good.
And Stoops did a good job beating U of L for the most part. But guess what? He's fired because he didn't win that game on Saturday. And if that had gone differently, he'd still be the coach here at UK. So you need to beat your rivals. U of L absolutely needs to be included in that. Stoops was terrible against Tennessee. You've got to make that rivalry more competitive. I'm sorry, you should beat Vanderbilt more years than not. Oh, but they're better now. Okay, well then get better than them. If they're better now, then get better than they are. That needs to be more times than not a win for the University of Kentucky. And then, I don't know who you consider rivals outside of Louisville, Vandy, and Tennessee, but maybe it's Florida. All right, well, Summerall, you need to find whoever the new coach is. Show us why you are actually better than the guy that all the fans wanted. If you consider Florida a rival, if you consider it South Carolina, if you consider it Missouri, whoever it may be, let's get competitive. Let's be in those rivalry games, but especially Tennessee, especially Louisville, and especially Vandy, because those are going to be teams you're going to see more frequently. Vandy, not as much, but Tennessee and Louisville, certainly. And then number 3 that I want to see, and it goes along with that of the rival line, but we need to get back into going into Saturdays feeling good or feeling optimistic or feeling like we're not going to get clobbered. Got to have a chance on Saturday, even if that's against Alabama, even if that's against LSU. maybe the expectation isn't to win, but we look at the spread and we're 7.5-point dogs, or we're 4.5-point dogs, and you know that we've got a chance. We feel like we've got a chance. And if the other team scores 20 points, then you still feel like maybe you have a chance. That was one thing in the Stoops era. Was the other team could just simply outscore you. If they just got to a certain number, you just knew it was too many points for Mark Stoops to be able to get back into the game. So I need exciting off seasons. I need competitive rivalries. I need competitive Saturdays. If I'm going to drive an hour and 30 minutes to Kroger Field, tailgate for a few hours, go to the game for a few hours, drive home, and take my entire Saturday, I want to feel like I've got a chance of winning. And far too often, over especially the last 2 years, Mark Stoops was totally blown out. And even more so, what was he, 49-0? Or, excuse me, 0-49.
0-49.
0-49 in games where he was down by 14 points or more. He never came back. Once he got down, it was over, and you knew it was over. And that was that. Sometimes you were down that number in the first quarter or in the second quarter, and you just knew, all right, well, he ain't coming back. It's not happening today. And I need somebody that I feel like you've got a chance once the game starts, going into games. So that's what I'm looking for. And, yeah, I hope Stein can check those boxes. I hope Hartline could. If he's the coach, it certainly seems like all the wind is blowing in their direction. Is this the classic misdirection? I'm sure somebody could just text Will Stein. If you're one of my buddies and you have his number, just shoot him a text and be like, hey, random, but a radio show was wondering, did you actually already take the UK job? He was wondering. But it seems to be moving quickly. Maybe it's misdirection. Maybe it's not. But there is, for the first time in a long time, optimism in the UK football program, folks, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at the schedule next year. Youngstown State, South Alabama, Louisville for your out of conference. Alabama at home, Florida at home, LSU at home, Vandy at home, at Mizzou, at Oklahoma, at South Carolina, at Tennessee, at Texas A&M. That does you really no favors as your first year. First off, Texas A&M, what the hell? How do we have to go back to College Station when they haven't been to Kroger Field, and they've been in the league since, what, 2012? 2013?
It's absolutely nutty.
That's crazy. And we got to go at Oklahoma before they have to come to Kroger Field. Whatever, it's fine. We had to do Texas before they came to Kroger Field. Whatever. But it's a tough schedule. That's a really tough schedule. I want them. I agree. I want to go be able to for the first year. If you can get to 6 wins, that's great. But I want to be in a position. I want to go into each Saturday with the hope that they could pull it off. Mark Stoops' first year, and it's just the way that you built football teams and built your programs back then, because he was just left with Joker Phillips holdovers and a few guys that he brought in, a few Yahtzees, if you will, and they just weren't ready. I mean, that they needed a couple years to build up an offensive line, defensive line. They were just in the trenches. They just were not what an SEC football team needs to be. You can build this thing up faster now. Now, can you build this into like a playoff contender in year one? No. I mean, I just don't think that is a realistic expectation to think that, you can go out and immediately turn a 5-win team into a 9-win team, especially when you're playing an extra SEC opponent, especially not their head coach, or, one fired their head coach hours after and the other didn't have a head coach. Whoever they're bringing in, it's a tall task next season. There's no doubt about that. But there is optimism that you can, especially with Hartline or Stein, you're bringing in a young coach. You're bringing in somebody who's gonna bring, like, the passion that Mark Stoops had at the beginning. We forget like how much energy he had, and how like this blue collar mentality of the way he built his program, and he just kind of lost that fire. I mean, I think Calipari said that the basketball is a 10-year job. I think that's just what these are. Like, if you're there for over a decade, that means you've had success. But if you're not like winning titles every year, eventually it just kind of grows stale. So what would you consider? Do you think that Will or Brian, do you think that these are long-term high? Like, do you think you can hang on to them for a decade?
That's so far out ahead of anything that I'm thinking about. But Brian, if he's super successful, no, probably not, right?
Yeah, that's what I think too.
If Ohio State ever wanted him, he'd take the Ohio State job in a heartbeat. Stein's a bit more intriguing because if he came to Kentucky and he was successful, he's probably just going to be rooted there. He would be at that point, an hour away from all his family if his family wouldn't just move on up to Lexington. But he'd be at home at that juncture. Would he leave for an LSU or an Alabama? Maybe, probably. Nobody would blame him if he did at that point. But your buddy was going to hate Mark Stoops if he took the A&M job. We may not like it. We may not love it. I was all right with it, actually. I thought it was a perfect separation point. But you were saying,
always thought that.
Yeah, it was a perfect separation point for both parties. UK fans were starting to get somewhat sick of Stoops. I actually think that some of that behind the scenes, I'm just so sick of Stoops, that got back to A&M fans, and they were saying, all right, well, hold on. He's the winningest coach at UK, and some of their fans aren't thrilled with him. Maybe we need to take a look at this. They revolted. They ended up not going back on their word. They ended up going back on their word and not hiring Stoops, and we all know how the rest all played out. But, if they're successful enough to leave, then that's a win hire for Mitch Barnhart. And
yes,
nobody really trusts Mitch Barnhart to make this hire just yet. Or ever. But it seems like maybe he's trucking along with it and potentially has already made an agreement. But I do love the idea of whoever it is being the Y at the game tomorrow. I've got some UK basketball concerns, but Stephen Peak, those seem like miles away with all the football news, and I'm okay with that. An updated AP poll, by the way, did come out, and Kentucky's number 18. It's going to be number 16, UNC, traveling to Rupp Arena at 9:30 tomorrow night. I can't complain enough about that tip time. Entirely too late. Absolutely insane that it's so late. And then it'll be Gonzaga in the Music City Melee on Friday night. I don't think that's the name of it, but that's what I think it's like the Broadway Battle or something like that. The Battle on Broadway. I'm going to go Music City Melee. It's more violent. But that's on Friday night. That's number 11 Gonzaga versus number 18 UK. So this is a huge week for UK basketball. Huge. And I love the idea of bringing the new coach out as the Y tomorrow. Probably going to be a little too early to make that happen, but maybe a video? And who knows? The way we're all talking about this, though, if Wednesday were to roll around and UK not have a new head football coach, at least where things stand as of today, that's surprising to me. And Peak, I'm going to Nashville. I'm taking a little family vacay to Nashville for this weekend for that UK Gonzaga game, and we're doing the Gaylord Opry. So it's only fitting that when I'm going to check out for a little bit, there's going to be huge news. So I'm kind of hopeful that actually UK does have a new coach sooner rather than later, so I can actually talk about it on air. But I can almost guarantee you that the official announcement will happen on Thursday, maybe Friday, one of those 2 days when I am out.
Yeah, I mean, I wondered if this is happening so fast because they wanted to get a coach in before National Signing Day. Maybe there are guys that I don't know. Again with Matt Ponatowski and whatever, some of the other guys they maybe try to hold on to, and okay, here's our coach. You want to go ahead and sign here? But TJ, this is I don't know if you wanted to save basketball for the last segment, but I think we have a huge, huge, huge basketball game tomorrow. And with the way that Kentucky athletics has been trending here lately, I've gone to 4 marquee Kentucky football and basketball games over the last 2.5 weeks. Louisville had Kentucky down by 20. Michigan State beat Kentucky by 17, also had them down by 20. Vanderbilt had Kentucky down by 42 in the fourth quarter, and Louisville blanked Kentucky 41-0. Kentucky fans need this win on Tuesday. I put on Twitter, I don't know how the fan base reacts if they lose to North Carolina. This has been a good distraction that you've had a coaching search, and now there's actually something to feel good about, something to be excited about. And that is big. That's not nothing. But we got to win games. I mean, the whole point of this is to win games.
Happens every year. It happens every year that we have this kind of bad lull of UK athletics, and this one's really about as bad as it's gotten. A lot of blowouts. You just kind of needed a couple wins in either sport just to not let this happen. A win in football, you're going bowling, so you're happier. I don't know. I do think I was saying this at the game. We haven't gotten to talk about the game, and we'll get into that maybe tomorrow or maybe never again. It was so long ago. So much other news has happened. Meaningless game. Nobody cared about it. But when U of L fans were talking trash, and who could blame them, right? UK, you're up big on your rival. When it was like 20-0, I was in the bathroom at Cardinal Stadium, and U of L fans were talking trash, and I was just saying, listen, if you all are going to win, you need to win big. And they were coming back and saying, no, it doesn't matter. We could beat you all by 90. Stoops isn't going anywhere. He's back. And I was like, oh, man, that's actually kind of good trash talk, just reminding us that we're stuck with Stoops, because we don't really have a rebuttal for that besides like, no, you all are going to beat us so badly, he's definitely going to get fired. So I was like, that's pretty good trash talk by the U of L fans. They're not normally pretty good at that. But that was true. Beat us bad enough where you leave no doubt. Leave such a bad taste in the BBN's mouth that we know got to do something about it. Got to make some changes here. And that's exactly what happened. 41-0 is so embarrassing that there was, if you lose that game on a last-second field goal, we had 1 million players out. They had 1 million players out. It just came down to the wire, and the ball didn't bounce our way. Shucks. No, you had a bunch of dudes out. They had a bunch of dudes out, and they went out there, and they beat your ass with your job on the line. I think that game told us all that we needed to know, but I'm honestly thankful for it. I never want to lose that game. If I could go back in time, I'd still want UK to win on Saturday. But if UK was going to lose, this is just true. If UK was going to lose, it needed to be bad. And for the first time ever, U of L, you made yourself useful, and you beat the snot out of UK, and it was helpful, Pete, because I do think we'll look back and say, all this, now, if it was out of my pocketbook, I don't know if I'd be saying this. I'm not the one having to pay $37 million. But we will look back, and this is all a good day, a good thing for the University of Kentucky. And if UK has a bad year next year, you're going to have some goober national media member that's talking out his butt that's going to say, and you bet you wish you had that Stoops conservative defense now. Or they're going to say some stupid thing, and I'm going to say, no, because next year under Stoops would have been dreadful. January would have stunk. February, March, April, May, June, July, August. And then we would have gotten to the season, and we wouldn't have known bad until the season had started. I promise you, he could have had issues fielding a team with how little money would have been in the program with the way that they lost to Louisville. So I don't care how next season goes with Will Stein or Brian Hartline or PJ Fleck or Charlie Weiss Jr. I don't care how it goes with any of those guys. It could be 1-11 or 2-10. I promise you the next 12 months will be more enjoyable for the UK football fan than if Mark Stoops was waddling the sideline for another year. I promise you. So, Peak, bring it on, whoever it is. And I'm not going to sit back there and be like, you got to give them 15 years. You got to give them 5 years to build their program. No, we're going to be judging year one. That doesn't mean I'm going to be ready to fire them, whoever it may be, if year one doesn't go well. But yeah, we're gonna have some takeaways in year one. But at least it's going to be fun to have some optimism for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, and I think maybe Jeff Brom was just trying to get a fellow Shamrock a head coaching job in the SEC.
Exactly.
Running the score up.
Exactly.
And thank you, Jeff Brom. Appreciate you. Because he could have. I don't think he was really running the score up, but they could have killed some clock, I guess. I don't know.
What were they going to do? Take fans from the stands and put them on the field? All the walk-ons were in.
It's maybe some of the cheerleaders, potentially.
I did say the other day that I would have hopped on the field if they asked me to.
Producer Matt coming up out of the. I can hear him coughing and sniffling. We might want to get some disinfectant into that producer room.
That's for him and Scoots and Roman to figure out, right? We're safe in the cement block is keeping the germs away. So producer Matt. Just are you even going to be able to stay up for the Patriots game tonight, buddy?
I'm going to try my best. I'm going to try and force myself. I think I've eaten like 12 cough drops on stream.
Nice.
in the entire time I've been here.
Yeah, you should just. The stream is just producer Matt blowing his nose, doing cough drops. It's an electric stream today. I do like we've got a Will Stein Photoshop in a UK jersey. We've got my top 5 list. We've got some Mark Stoops. And again, I'm not ready to go to the point and be like, oh man, gee golly, thank you so much, Mark. And then the Sarah McLachlan, I will remember you. I'm not ready to go there yet. If he is totally a jerk on this contract stuff, maybe someday I'll get there, but it's going to take some time. Now, if he can throw us a bit of a bone here and help us out, then we can get there sooner rather than later. Let's welcome him back. Are you looking for a defensive coordinator position by chance? I've got a buddy texting me personally, and he's like, TJ, I love you, but I wish that you would stop with the Summerall stuff. He says that it's way better to go with a young offensive mind. Florida did us a favor. We weren't going to pay him $7.5 million anyways with no state income tax. That's a good point. People say, well, Florida got him for a discount. That's a little bit of a caveat with that. But still, $7.5 million. He says, we will be ahead of Florida with Stein or Hartline. Things are finally looking up for UK football. All right, so I disagree. So, and I hate that I disagree. And that's not to say that I disagree and that Hartline or Stein can't do well at UK. All these things could be true. Hartline could kill it at UK. Stein could kill it at UK. Summerall could kill it at Florida. Summerall could kill it at UK. Just not all things are equal here with this sort of stuff. Summerall at Kentucky, I don't know how anybody would be convinced he wouldn't have done well. He would have had money. He would have had connections. He would have his mindset or philosophy wouldn't have worked. It's worked everywhere that he's been a head coach. Well, the SEC's different. Well, he'd have different talent. Obviously I know winning at Troy and Tulane's not the same as winning at Kentucky, but come on. If he can win those places, why couldn't he win at UK? And I hate to say it, folks, but he's going to win at Florida. The dude's just a winner. So I am bummed that Barnhart let it slip, and I wish it was Summerall at UK. We'd have our cake, and we'd be eating it too had they just fired Stoops a little bit earlier, in my opinion. So I do disagree. Maybe Summerall doesn't have the chops to win in the SEC. I'll need to see it to believe it. And I'll also say this. He could fail at Florida, and that still doesn't mean I'm convinced he'd fail at UK. Apples and oranges. Expectations are much higher at Florida. He would have a better nil setup at Florida than he would at UK. He doesn't have the same homegrown connection, so maybe he gets a little bit of a longer leash at UK, understandably so, in that instance. So if he doesn't make it at Florida, I'm not waving the white flag on that take. But I think the world of John Summerall. I think he's a great football coach, and I think we're really going to regret not getting him to be the head coach at UK because he would have taken the job, Peak.
Yeah, I think he would have. And what's going to be kind of unfair to whoever comes in and replaces Mark Stoops is how they will be compared to the success that John Summerall could have at Florida. I mean, Adam Luckett said John Summerall stuff like that. It grabs my attention.
You broke up right when you said that. Adam Luckett said what about Summerall?
He said that he was made in a lab to coach in the SEC, and I do agree with that. Now, we didn't get him, so I'm willing to get behind whoever they bring in, and hopefully they continue to beat Florida. We've gotten kind of accustomed to doing that, TJ. How many times in the last, or since 2021, Kentucky's beaten them? What is it? It's not 4 or 5, is it? Is it 4 or 5?
Something like that.
21, 22, 23, lost in 24, beat them in 25. I mean, we kind of own Florida now. So, and that's like Mark Stoops and everything that by the end of this, we couldn't stand. He still beat Florida and gave us, I think, the biggest win over Florida in program history. But, yeah, so I think that's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of comparison, but I think we can be successful. What success looks like at Florida and what it looks like at Kentucky is obviously different. But I think with either hire, if they are able to land Will or Brian, and then all the signs are pointing to Will Stein, and I fully support the hiring of Will Stein, and I think that he can lead Kentucky. They can build Kentucky up to be in the hunt for the playoffs rather quickly. I mean, I don't think it's not going to happen year 1, year 2, but I do think by year 3 or 4, like, Kentucky's going to be one of the teams in November playing meaningful football games. And I'm not going to say that's all you can ask for as a Kentucky fan, because Vanderbilt is going to be in the playoffs. And so if Vanderbilt can do it, I mean, Kentucky, we should be able to dream that one day we can do that, right?
Absolutely. If those other places can do it, then it should be the expectation for Kentucky. And at some point, there needs to be the payout as well. And with the right coach, and maybe it's a name that we've mentioned, maybe it's not a name that we've mentioned. With the right coach, anything's possible, and that has been proven in the Nil era. But back in the day when coaching, you needed to be able to do 3 things. You needed to be able to recruit, you needed to be able to develop, and you needed to be able to game plan. Now it's just 2 things. And feel free to argue with me on it if anybody disagrees. Game Day Men's Health text line 502-414-1450. We'll be out there tomorrow. We hope that you come out and see us. It's not 9400 Williamsburg Plaza, Suite 340. It's right off Hurstbourne Parkway, close to where that Panera and the Skyline is on Hurstbourne, across the street from the Gustavos, which is always so delicious. But no salsaritas, obviously, but it's good. Game Day Men's Health will be live doing the show out there at 9400 Williamsburg Plaza, Suite 340. It'd be hilarious if we just had, 15 to 45 roll call listeners just cram their lobby, and they'd be like, you guys all here for some testosterone? No, we get it from the roll call guys. But we are here for peptides, actually. So GameDayMen'sHealth.com, they'll get you all taken care of. We will be live out there tomorrow. But the 2 things in coaching now are fundraise and game plan and coach, right? So like coaching, and fundraising. Who cares about recruiting and developing, right? If I'm going to throw $1 million more at a player, I don't care if you're the best schmoozer, Vince Marrow, little pup barking, woof, 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 Jeff Ruby, steak slinging, whatever it may be. If somebody's going to offer $1 million more, you can be a jerk. Okay? So you've got to be able to fundraise, and fundraise is going to put together a great roster. If you have a lot of money, you'll put together a good roster. And I don't know, maybe you're a complete goober, Jerome Tang, you'll just blow all your money, you'll put together the most expensive roster, and it'll be terrible. All right, well, then time will tell. Right? But then you'll go back to checking some of those boxes, at least, of an exciting offseason. Anytime that you're going to be able to fundraise and recruit, and that's not just in high school anymore. That's transfer portal and high school, but whatever. You just need to buy the best players, the most exciting players that you can. If you're doing that, you're still winning the offseason. You're still getting the fans excited where they want to buy tickets, so you're still at least checking a box. Now, if you end up being terrible at that and the players don't mesh or they're not good or you wasted money, then time will tell and you'll eventually get fired and we'll throw our money at the next guy. But you're at least getting an exciting offseason. So you've got to be able to fundraise. You got to be able to recruit, or you got to be able to recruit with that money, but I think that's pretty easy to do. And then you have to be able to coach and game plan. I think Will Stein could do those 2 things. Now, could he coach a defensive line? Why would Will Stein be a good, no good interior defensive line? He probably shouldn't, probably wouldn't. However, you trust him to hire a defensive coordinator that is going to make sure the defense is good on that side of the ball. Brian Hartline, the same thing, right? So that comes with the territory.
Yeah, I mean, Will Stein is the number 1 offense right now. So, let's let him focus on calling plays. Let's focus him on quarterbacks. He has a mentality of feed the studs. So go get some stud wide receivers and running backs. let Will Stein. I mean, I guess would Will Stein call the plays then? I mean, I guess you'd have an assistant offensive coordinator, but do you think he would call them?
I'd say early on he's probably calling it right to start. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
And I agree. It'd be so fun to just have a great quarterback. I mean, Indiana, not only just them rocking and rolling to the college football playoff 2 years in a row, but great quarterback play both years. And the second year, their quarterback's gonna win the Heisman. Just what? Like, they're living a football dream in their freaking Indiana. All right, do we need to take our final break, Matt?
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and do that. One final segment. We're going to read some of your texts into the Game Day Men's Health text line. 2 hours, not enough today. This is Kentucky Roll Call on Big X Sports Radio.
Moss back in there. He throws it wide open to Stewart, the tight end. And he
Radio 96.1 FM, 1450 AM. Stephen Peak, TJ Walker, producer Matt Childers will be live at Game Day Men's Health tomorrow off Hurstbourne, 9400 Williamsburg Plaza, Suite 340. Excited to get out there. Should be a good time. All right, Peak, where do you want to go? I was going to maybe read some text, but whatever.
Do it.
You anything that we talked about that you wanted to touch on?
No, I'm good with reading some text, and maybe we'll spend tomorrow out at 5 Iron, maybe talking about it's 5 Iron tomorrow, right?
No, Game Day Men's Health.
Game Day Men's Health. That's right. So that's where we can spend some time talking about basketball and how big that game is tomorrow.
Texter says, currently at work thinking about a new head coach who would provide legitimate QB development along with a high-powered offensive scheme. Has me so excited that I may just need to step into the bathroom for one quick second. Okay. It is fun to just think about a new quarterback having good quarterbacks. To be excited about quarterback play. To be hopeful about quarterback play. To be down 10 in a game, down 7 in a game, and not have to worry if it's too much.
Yes.
So that's going to be fun. Now, on the flip side, if we're going to go offensive-minded, there's probably a good chance that UK's defense will be frustrating from time to time. I see Tennessee fans tweet all the time about how they just wish that they had a good defense. Sometimes there's going to be a trade-off with that stuff.
Yeah. But, having a good offense is just objectively more fun, isn't it? I mean, that's what they light off the fireworks for. That's what you get the lights shows when you score, and everyone. That's the stuff that gets people excited. So if you're going to be good at only one side of the ball, I would prefer it be offense. But I do think though, and with a high-powered offense, you just got to. If you can be what Tennessee was even in 2022, where they gave up a lot of points, but they were serviceable on defense. You get lucky, you get a couple fumble recoveries, interception. You put yourself in position to beat some really good teams. And, Stoops kind of had the blueprint for it on the defensive side, right? I mean, we're just going to keep every game within striking distance, and then it comes down to us making plays and, late in the game to maybe try to squeeze out a victory. So, obviously both can work, but the one that's just a little bit more exciting is when you light up the scoreboard. That 2007 season was only 7-5, but weren't the games just like insanely fun? The rewatchability of that LSU game and that Louisville game and even the Tennessee game they lost is very high because there was a lot of offense. They achieved the objective of the game, getting into the end zone.
I said this in the I said you're exactly right. And I said this at the peak of the Stoops era is I don't care if you win a game 2-0. Just win. All that matters is winning. Just win. If you do it with defense, great. If you do it with offense, great. If you somehow could find a way 12 games out of the year to do it specifically with special teams, awesome. I don't care. Just win, and I will adapt the style of which I like to watch, which is just winning. So I can be very adaptive with that. I love a good defense. I love a good, sexy, just this other team can't do nothing against you, and it doesn't matter what they try. They try this, nothing's happening. They try that, nothing's happening. Watching Josh Allen and Bud Dupree and Zadarius Smith.
Absolutely.
Mark Stoops had some dudes on defense, and it really was. It was a real treat to get to watch that defense for over 10 years.
I will remind, they won that Missouri game, but if they don't throw a flag on the last play of the game, Kentucky would have lost a football game while the other team didn't get a first down in the second half. And that would have been insane. Now they went to Conrad, they won the game. It's one of the best Kentucky victories of my life. But they did almost lose the game, even though Missouri didn't get a first down the entire second half.
Yeah, shout out Lynn Bowden, Ahmad Flagner, the defense, the whole kit and caboodle, if you will. And that's and you're going to finish my point for me. And that is that at Kentucky, with the nil situation at UK, with the inherent homegrown talent base at UK, you have to have really, really good talent to win defensively. And Kentucky just realistically could not get that year in and year out. So, all right, 1 year you miss. 1 year there's an injury. 1 year your secondary didn't turn out to be what you thought it was going to be. And you're a defensive-minded coach that builds your team around its defense. And now your defense ain't as good. Well, holy smokes, you've signed up for the most boring, disastrous season that you're ever going to find. You can't do it. Where if you build around the offense, there's a little bit more of a buffer zone, in my opinion, with the talent gap. Where, all right, we can, defensively, we're not going to be the best in the world, but this quarterback can't be stopped. And he has afforded us a lot of flexibility. He's covered up a lot of boo-boos because he's that good. So I think when you're at Kentucky, while I do love me a good defense, and if I was at Georgia or if I was at Alabama or I was at Ohio State, I may even prioritize my defense. I'd try to make both really good, and all those programs have been successful at that. But at UK, when you need to be a little picky and choosy, when Mark Stoops was relying on defense, the margin for you had to be really, 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 really good. And if you weren't, you probably just were losing the game. Like I said earlier in hour one, sometimes when a team would get to 20 points or 17 points or 24 points, whatever it may be, they just had Kentucky boxed out. There's just no way Kentucky could get to – there just wasn't enough offense. They couldn't do it. So that was that. It will be nice with the next guy, and we're all saying this as if it's like a matter of fact it's going to be an offensive mind. Watch them go out and get somebody defensive that we've never heard of. But assuming it's going to be an offensive mind, and I think it is, it's just going to be nice to know that, like, all right, today we may score 30 points, 40 points. Who knows? Maybe 50 points is on the table.
Ooh, 50.
Maybe 60 points.
Whoa.
If producer
60. Mike McDaniel coaching the team?
If producer Matt wasn't sick, he'd say 70 points. Why stop there? 70 points? 80 points? Why stop there?
TJ,
go ahead.
I saw one text. Somebody said, do each of you remember the 07 6A championship game? Do you remember that one, TJ? That was a good game.
Sadly, I do. Sadly, I remember the semifinal game on Friday night. Trinity just beats St. X in the playoffs. That's how it goes down. But my sister was dating Wes on that 07 team, so it all hits very close.
Oh, Whiteloff?
Yeah, so
the game-winning touchdown.
I remember. Yeah, I recall. I saw it right in front of me, actually. Yes, I do remember that 07 state championship game. That texter says it would be so surreal to have a Trinity guy from the 08 class as the UK head coach. It would be crazy. It'd be crazy times. Another texter says, if you mentioned it on the show, I'm a podcast listener, I'll catch up. They say, Will Stein's the new guy. At least that's what I hear. Take it for what it's worth. But I'm told by a pretty reliable source that the deal's pretty much done, and he'll be announced by tomorrow. All right, a lot of news out there. These are the days you live for as a fan, coaching search days. That's why I don't want it. Like, this has gone by a little too fast. Give us some time. Let's just call some Mexican restaurants, for Pete's sake.
We're trying to sell some subs over on KS Board. You can't just have the coach announced in less than
ham and cheese,
12
turkey,
hours.
BLT. What kind of subs are we talking? All right, good stuff. A texter says, did you start jumping up and down, yelling, that's my sister, old man? No, didn't do that. Another texter says, great point. Summerall might be a bust at Florida. And even if he is, doesn't mean he would be at UK, for what it's worth. I still wish he was the coach. Another texter says, in other news, does this feel high? UK given 8.5 points. Yes, that absolutely feels high.
It does.
Kentucky.
Line was suspiciously high.
Kentucky it started as like a 1.5 point dog against Louisville. It went up to like 3.5, 4.5, 5.5. We were all like, that's weird. Well, Louisville went on to cover. UK opened up as a big favorite. What was it, like 5.5 against Michigan State? We were like, that seems a little high. By game time, it was around 3.5, 2.5. You know what? Michigan State blows them out. This one, it seems a little high. The trend would seem to suggest that you should probably bet North Carolina. But we will talk about that game in much more detail tomorrow. It'll be a more basketball driven. It's still going to be football heavy. majority of the show tomorrow is going to be football, but we will give UK and UNC an appropriate amount of time on tomorrow's show, Stephen Peak.
Yeah, that line is kind of wild. And I'll be interested to see how the betting trends go for it. We still have 31 hours.
Way too much time. Way too late of a game.
9:30. I'll be staying in Lexington tomorrow night because we'll have National Signing Day the day after. I don't know, maybe there'll be a Kentucky coach we have to go do an announcement for.
Bad weather tonight. It's probably a good thing this bad weather's coming in tonight and not tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know a couple people going to the game. Half of them are staying in Lexington. The other half are driving back. And I just that getting in your car at midnight with an hour and a half drive ahead of you, that is just brutal. I mean, that is just brutal for those folks.
Yeah.
But
I think we'll probably get out of there at around 2:30 in the morning, maybe if we're lucky.
Man, that's yeah.
Long day.
9:30 for 2 East time zones, whatever. If Indiana can do it, Kentucky can too. The SEC is a little tougher, but other than that, there's no excuse. Will Stein would be an amazing hire that would make me jealous as a Louisville fan. My biggest concern about Will Stein is he's just never been a head coach, and
Neither was Mark Stoops.
neither was Mark Stoops. But it started off a little rocky, and you knew that
It was a learning curve.
and
You're right.
you knew that he was going to have some time because it was a different era of college football, and he had to get his guys in there, and he won people over with recruiting and effort. The issue in this era is you're not going to get 3 years just to totally stink. You could have one, and maybe if you showed the right signs and you said the right things, you could have 2 that were bad, but you got to be better sooner. You can put together rosters that quickly. So it does worry me a little bit about Stein. Could he come in and just know, I've never been a head coach before, but I need to do this with the offensive line. I need to do this with the tight ends. On defense, I'm hiring this guy, and we're going to try to do this scheme, and I know that's going to work. I don't think year one with Will Stein would be amazing. Not to say that the future couldn't be good, and I'm more worried, again, you don't hire a coach just for year one, but I would have some concerns because it's a bit of a wild card. So that's where I'm at there.
Yeah, there's going to be a learning curve for this is headed. So but I do want to add the caveat that there's nothing, in case you're just tuning in, pretty good signs indicating Will Stein is going to be the next coach. But nothing has been made official. There hasn't been any ink on paper as far as I know. So whoever the coach is, if it's Heartline even, there's going to be a learning curve. I hope that whoever it is will bring in guys who are smarter than them at what they do, and they're able to put together a good staff that you can go out there and, like I said, win 6 games, be competitive in all of them, and then build off of that. And then as you've gotten used to the job, you get settled in, we can start dreaming. I think with either of those choices, Kentucky fans can dream about having a lot of success.
Oh, we got a flight leaving Clark Regional in Louisville, heading to Eugene, Oregon.
Oh.
That's happening today, 3:30. I can't imagine you have too many private planes from Louisville go into Eugene, Oregon, all willy-billy. I can't imagine that's just a daily private plane flight.
Bring him home. Bring Will home.
I really have no idea.
I love that Louisville fans don't like it. That's just another reason you should do it. I know Kentucky fans didn't love Kenny Payne going to Louisville, but I don't know. That just felt different to me. I didn't. I feel like I go back to Mike Rutherford's tweet. I think this will break their hearts a little bit. He's been a Kentucky guy his whole life. He's a Kentucky guy again.
I don't care how U of L fans feel about it. I don't care about Mike Rutherford. I don't care if it helps with Matt Ponatowski. If all those things happen and the coach is good, that's all that matters. You're right. It could be a nice added bonus. But I'm ready for Kentucky football to get back in the hunt of 10 wins, being competitive every Saturday. We'll be back tomorrow to talk about it. This is Kentucky Roll Call live from Game Day Men's Health tomorrow.